It is the reason why our stock market is booming. It's currently taking over the internet and nobody can tell if a video is real or fake. I'm talking about artificial intelligence, AI, robots, and autonomy. A few years back, I posted a picture on social media that went viral of a big construction site that had a debris net up to catch anything that may have fallen. On the side of this debris net, typically a company will put their logo. This company put, "Hey ChatGPT, finish this building," taking a jab at the fact that robots and AI can't come in and build residential, commercial, or any of the infrastructure that we have today. Are we going to lose our blue-collar jobs? That is the topic of today's video. Now, we are just a few short days away from going to World of Concrete 2025 out in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is where a lot of the big tech for construction gets unveiled. Some of the things that we're going to watch in today's video have been released at World of Concrete, so this show is incredible. Stay tuned next week because we have a ton of content dropping from the show, and we will have the first World of Concrete 2025 coverage video. With World of Concrete going on right now, these videos have to come first, and we'll be back to the remodeling before you know it. That studio is just about wrapped up and it's on to the primary house. If you guys don't know, I'm remodeling my 1926 built home. This thing's 99 years old. We're in the process of building out a studio in the back right now, so I have a place to stay while I completely tear apart the primary residence. If you want to check that out, there's a link in the description down below. But it is a wild world out there. House Pro, who's a channel sponsor of ours, has an AI software that allows you to go in with a takeoff on a set of plans, and a single click can get you the square footage mapped out around a building. Where construction takeoffs used to be a set of plans on the table here, marking out numbers and scaling things, we're now able to click a single button and get the square footage all the way around a building. It's unreal. If you guys are looking for a solid construction management software, in the description down below you can find House Pro. Check out that AI software that I was talking about. These are products that you guys may or may not have seen before, but I want to talk about them myself, the application, the use case, and more. Let's get into it.
Hello,
The Jaibot.
I'm James O'Driscoll, and I'm our digital construction consultant here at Hilti Jaibot. We're here today at our regional training centre in Manchester to show you our fantastic innovation, the Jaibot. The Jaibot is a semi-autonomous drilling robot. It's ideal for any serial drilling application into wall or ceiling.
Right off the bat, this thing looks really expensive. We saw this demoed last year at World of Concrete.
The Jaibot stations itself within the job site using our robotic total station PLT 300, which you can see behind me. This can also be used as a standalone tool on the job site to stake and lay out all your points on your job site. The Jaibot is a one-person operation and requires digital drawings and known hole coordinates in order for it to drill the holes accurately.
So basically what it just said is that this thing needs to have a full layout of the building. You have to basically input the plans into some sort of software and map things out with coordinates. I think a lot of the technology that we're going to see in this video comes into play with big commercial spaces. On a small residential project, you might have a couple holes to drill, but on a big commercial application, you might have thousands.
As well as the productivity gains that the Jaibot brings, it will also bring health and safety benefits to you as a company as well. The Jaibot will drill your holes quickly and accurately and give you real productivity gains on the job site. The Jaibot will drill from a range from 6mm to 16mm in diameter. So
that tool on the end there is a big Hilti SDS rotary hammer, and that's drilling holes up into a concrete surface. The big tube around the outside is a catch tube with a vacuum attached to it, so it's essentially dustless. This thing's pretty cool. The other thing that I want to keep in mind is a lot of the times when we think of robots and stuff, we think of losing our jobs. There's someone operating this thing. Similar to a reach lift on a framing site. That can replace a couple people, but it still takes someone to operate it.
And up to 100mm in depth. There's no requirements to work at heights. There's minimal exposure to dust and no exposure to hand-arm vibration.
So the Hilti Jaibot takes away all sorts of human error. It takes away all the risk of having somebody holding that big rotary hammer and hitting rebar up above and breaking a wrist. That one makes sense to me on a big commercial project. I don't know what the price is, but can't imagine it's cheap. This video has made rounds on social so many times. It looks really cool, but it's not all that smooth. That was a perfect application on a perfect wall that was built just for that demo. Drywall is a lot like framing in a sense that nothing is ever going to be perfect. That's one of my biggest arguments with robots, with AI, with autonomy, with any of this stuff really, because there's so many variables in construction. It makes it nearly impossible for anything to come out and just make it happen. When you get to a concrete slab and it's an inch out and an inch dropped, you have to be able to make those changes. There's way too many variables in construction. HP, that's a big name. I didn't know they were in the construction space. CAD file loaded. That's pretty cool. Layout up to 10 times quicker. So this thing's going through and mapping out all of the walls in the building, or it looks like it was going through and mapping out utilities as well. Once again, you would load in a plan set and have everything drawn out as you wanted it, and it would go through and pinpoint certain locations. From what I know about this HP printer here, you pay per square foot, which to me seems absurd. You imagine buying a saw and every cut you made you have to pay? They say on the website that it's for upkeep on the machine, software updates and things like that. But every single project you have to pay in order to use the machine itself. It seems absurd to me, but let me know what you guys think. You could put all of your framing numbers in there, your headers, your bottom cripples, your top cripples. You could print anything you wanted to, which I think is really cool. Once again though, that was a big industrial site, big commercial site. Would that be useful for a small 1,500 to say 4,000 square foot home? I don't know what the back end looks like of loading a set of plans in and pinpointing locations to figure it out, but I can't imagine it's a quick process. Whereas with a 1,500 to 4,000 square foot build, framers can go in and lay out pretty quick. It's really hitting that thing. He doesn't look like he should be up there. They've got the DeWalt saw. They're doing something right. Can someone tell me if this video is actually real? The motion of this thing just looks absurd. So it does that and it's perfectly fine, but I do it and it's an OSHA violation. That's cool. I don't have much to say about it. Dusty Robotics. I would buy this over the HP site print just because of the cool little googly eyes in the front. The Field Printer 2. Look at that little guy. That's so cute. He just looks like he wants to work. That's what I'm talking about right there. 626 electrical room. Ceiling height is 7 foot 10 and a half after finished floor. Rough opening is 38 by 81 and a half, and the door is a 6'2". 6'8". That's what we as framers try to put down on the plates with all the markings on the ground. But as you can tell, the dashed lines, the RO being marked out, it's a lot cleaner than we are. It even prints the swing of the door. That's pretty rad. We marked that too, but it's nowhere near as clean. It runs on the wrong batteries, but that's okay. Dusty Robotics was the name of that one. That was the field printer too. Similar startup cost, around $30,000 to $50,000 from the information that I could find. There wasn't all that much out there. And you pay once again for the square footage of the building that it lays out. Now I don't exactly know how that works, because if you think about it, when it comes to doing layout on a building, you could have a 50,000 square foot building, but if you're just doing perimeter walls, there's not all that much. Maybe there's a mechanical room off to the corner. If you think of the projects like Kyle from our Buildings builds, they're just really big, but there's not a whole lot of walls inside. If you had a 40,000 square foot building, would you have to pay for 40,000 square feet if it only laid out a handful of walls? I don't know.
Hadrian X system from Australian firm FBR is pretty jaw-dropping. The only machine of its kind in the world,
cool.
Hadrian X consists of a huge telescopic robotic arm for laying specially designed bricks mounted on the back of a truck.
The Hadrian X is our first robotic bricklaying machine.
There's no grout.
Deploys to site.
I wonder if this was just for demo purposes.
Laser tracking on the laying head.
There's gaps in the side there.
Bricks very accurately.
There's mud down right there.
Distances of about 25 meters.
When in position, the system uses information from a 3D model to build the main structural walls of a building using specially optimized blocks. Made from a mixture of clay and concrete, they're about 12 times bigger than normal bricks, which gives them a much higher
They're just
rate.
dry stacking though.
The system takes up a bit of space on site, but it can put down more than 200 bricks every hour, and that's a lot compared to how it's usually done with the humble
200
brick.
bricks an hour is a
When you
lot.
consider that they've got to do it all by hand, and you factor in all those T-breaks, a human brickie will typically lay around 500 standard bricks.
This is one area where I really think that having some sort of robotic machine like this Hadrian X here is actually really cool. When you think of a trade like brick or block laying, where it's just continuous over and over and over again, that is hard on the body. My grandfather was a mason by trade. That's what he got into this industry doing. And his hands are beat up. His back is shot. This industry is rough. But this is even rougher.
But that's in a full day.
Because it's entirely mechanical, the speed is much greater than a human, to the point where we're about roughly 10 times faster than a human. Robots are able to handle quite heavy bricks, much heavier than what a human can. At the moment, we're only limited in size by the availability of bricks from mass manufacture.
The robot's lightning pace isn't just down to how fast it moves. The blocks are fed up through the arm, similar to a conveyor belt, so it doesn't need to waste time reaching for a new one each time a brick is laid. Like the blocks that are used, the structural adhesive that sticks them in place is customised too, and that comes from a special nozzle attached to the arm. The cement-based mortars used in conventional builds can take days to dry, but FBR's formula takes just 45 minutes to set, and the company claims that it's stronger too.
They just said that traditional mortar takes a day to dry, and whatever formula they have takes 45 minutes. So obviously they've got some sort of mortar.
Also at the business end of the arm is the claw. It's fitted with motion sensors that respond to a digital blueprint of the planned structure. That's how it understands exactly where to place each block, and it can auto-correct its position 1,000 times a second,
I wonder if it cuts
which
as
makes
well.
it extremely accurate. Because the machine knows the detailed site measurements and the size of the blocks it's using, it even cuts them up to fit exactly, using any bits left over on other parts of the build.
That's pretty cool.
The result is almost zero waste. All of these factors meant Hadrian X was able to build the structural walls of this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house on the outskirts of Perth in just 3.5 days. Once finished, teams of tradesmen, human ones, not androids,
3.5 days. Looks like a 2,000 square foot home. All of the exterior walls. That could be done with a traditional rough frame as well. 3.5 days is plenty of time to get all those walls taken care of. But as far as doing it in block, I'm not sure how long that would take. Once again, the thought of losing our jobs to these machines or these robots that come in and take our place. This thing built the exterior wall. That machine's probably $1.5 million, and it just did those exterior walls. After that, electricians, plumbers, HVAC, drywall, painters, bricklayers for the outside, framers came in for the roof. Even this thing that's very far advanced is still so far behind.
Moved in to
I do
complete
think
all
this
the
is
other
really
jobs that
cool
need to be
because
done
we
to
are
make a
heavily
home,
behind
such
on
as
housing.
wiring and plumbing. Regular bricks were only used for the outer face layer of the building, and these were all laid manually but off the critical path. Work could get cracking inside because the frame was already up. It's this overall time saving on site where the potential for lower construction costs lies. Now, you might expect a robot house to look different to a conventional one, but as these pictures
Beautiful
show,
home.
it's almost identical to the traditionally
neighborhood
built
is
homes
tight.
around it.
That house has been sold and is about to settle, so that will have people moving into it very soon. During the display opening period, most people remark, well, we can't tell any difference between this and the other display houses that we've looked at. Well, that's the point, you know, the end finished product. There's no difference between a human construction and a robotic construction, except that the robotic construction is overall a little bit more accurate.
It's a perfectly nice home that many of us would be happy to live in, though that single story might put some buyers off. But that doesn't mean that adding a second one is too much for Hadrian X. In fact, it's already proven that it can be done. Unveiled in October 2020, this two-storey house was built over
pretty cool.
FBR's HQ, and it shows how design elements like steel-reinforced concrete columns, floor
Once
slabs
again,
and
people in
rebar
here working.
can all be integrated as part of the process.
On that two-storey build, we actually precast a slab
That's
on the
pretty
ground
cool.
adjacent to the building, so that as soon as the first story was constructed, we lifted the slab up and onto the first floor, and then Hadrian was able to carry on building basically straight away as soon as the crane had left the site.
The house was built in a similar style to what's common in the developing markets that FBR wants to target, including Latin America and areas of the Middle East, North Africa and Asia. It all sounds great, but what about those questions that are now playing on your mind? Is it actually better than a highly skilled human bricklayer? Will there be job losses? What about regulations? Could the system go rogue and embark on some kind of terrifying rampage? On the jobs front, while it could mean that some roles are effectively replaced, new positions are being opened up too, like in operating and maintaining the equipment and preparing the 3D model, which those workers could be retrained to do. Also, human bricklayers are still likely to be needed in some capacity, at least for now, to complete those external layers or for when more detailed or bespoke brickwork is required. There's also no hiding the fact that there's a serious skills shortage in construction, not just in Western Australia but worldwide, and technologies like this are well placed to help tackle it. It's safer too, as workers no longer need to work at height, and the physical act of laying thousands of bricks can take its toll on the body over time. As for complying with regulations, FBR's situation isn't as challenging as with other technologies trying to break into construction, like 3D printing. That's because even though a giant robot is building the walls, which is admittedly a pretty big change, the materials used and the end result are not that different to what authorities are used to.
So we passed the local building requirements with engineer sign-off and municipal building authority approval. And we're also getting our wall as a service system approved in the Middle East and North America and Europe. So we really don't see any problem with engineering certification around the world.
Sounds like this could be coming to the US.
FBR is now looking to build more robots and scale their tech, though as usual the deep-rooted behavioural preferences of the construction sector will take some time to overcome. It'll need to seriously prove itself on multiple buildings in multiple markets to get there. But it's on the way, and given that the system appears to address some of construction's biggest challenges in a way that doesn't really appear to compromise on cost, performance or appearance, this robot-built home could actually have a serious impact on how we build in the future, and its new residents might end up owning a piece of history.
So there's a few things here. We have an autonomous brick-laying, block-laying robot that's able to come in and build out the perimeter of the home That gets us through one phase. That would be the equivalent of just being able to put up walls here in the US. Which, might I add, is the cheapest part of rough framing. The walls are by far the easiest part. Once you get up into the roof or the floor system and more, that's where the money really gets spent. But here's my take on this. We are so far behind in a housing crisis. We do not have enough houses for people, regardless of where you look. We have issues like the hurricanes on the East Coast or the fires down in LA that wiped out thousands of homes, and those all need to be rebuilt. California alone is going to face a massive labor shortage because we do not have the people to build that many homes. So something like that isn't going to take away from the custom market. I doubt it's going to take away from the tract home or subdivision market. If anything, it'll be a couple subdivisions here and there that decide to use it, and that's cool. Houses get put up. People still have jobs managing all that. As you can see, there's different people on a scissor lift going through and putting rebar or putting in epoxy. Where one door closes, another opens. Like they said, they don't feel like they're taking away jobs because they're doing the hardest possible task that they can do. Bricklaying or block laying is no joke. There's a lot more that we can get into on the framing side of things where they're laying out plates with computers and all of the framing is pre-cut. I think that stuff's really cool. But today I wanted to focus more on concrete and commercial projects because World of Concrete's coming up here pretty quick. I'm looking forward to showing you guys a ton more products just like this one next week while we're there at the show. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a great time out there. We're going to have the quickest coverage of the show. Second day of the event, our full video will be live that you guys can watch. So it'll feel like you're there with us. But I appreciate you guys watching today's video and I look forward to showing you more at World of Concrete 2025. And if it's already passed, the link's in the description down below to watch my coverage from the show. And I'll see you guys next time.